Sandhan. All Gujarat Integrated Classroom.
સેટેલાઇટના માધ્યમથી જોડતી કડી એટલે સંધાન.
Good afternoon, dear students. Myself, Dr. Rakesh Patel and Professor Kiran Trivedi from R.G. Shah Science College are here in Sandhan to discuss a very important topic related to the clinical microbiology, and the title is Drug Resistance and Its Importance. Basically, this is a burning problem of clinical microbiology, and as we will see them in the later part of our discussions, that this is a problem which is faced throughout the world. In a war between microbes, that is the pathogens, and the clinicians, it seems that microorganisms always have been on a winning side. Even if we try to improvise the drug, even if we try and select a new drug, all these things are very time consuming, very costly, and within a short time the drug becomes ineffective. It is because of the ability of the microorganisms to adapt itself and to develop a resistance towards these drugs. Today we are going to discuss in detail what is basically a drug resistance, what are its consequences, what makes the organism resistant towards the drugs, what are the causes, what are the effects, and how these things can be overcome. Now, before I take you to the actual topic of drug resistance, let us have a brief introduction regarding the topic itself. As you can see them in the slides, three important pathogens, three important organisms, microorganisms, which are playing havoc throughout the world, that includes virus, bacteria, and fungi. These are the prominent microorganisms which are responsible for causing one or the other type of disease. And the diseases which are caused by them, the number is very high. These diseases can be classified according to various categories, and depending upon the body part which is involved, we usually classify either as a respiratory infections, gastrointestinal infections, septicemic, that is the blood-borne infections, urinary tract infections, or surgical infections, and so on and so forth. Now, if I take you to the history of medicine, then as you can see here that it dates back before 2000 BC, where people used to treat themselves with some herbs, and that is why in 2000 BC it is written here, eat this root. When a patient goes to a clinician or a doctor, he prescribes him some herbs, so it says here, eat this root. After about 1000 years, the pedigram changes, because people start believing in God, and they say that it is the curse of the God, and you just pray him, it will be improved. Then later on a stage came where they considered prayer was a superstition, and you have to drink this potion. So while drinking this potion, you will be able to cure yourself. At a later stage, it come to the next stage, that is a pill came, that is some kind of chemicals came into existence, and it said that potion is a snake oil, so here swallow this pill. Later on the pill was also ineffective, and with the advent of penicillin, with the invention of penicillin, they said that pill is ineffective, so you take this penicillin. But within few years of the discovery of penicillin and the use of penicillin, bugs, that is the organisms, mutated, and a new antibiotic came into its place, and it said, oops, bugs mutated, so here take this tetracycline. And since then, that is since 1960s till now, so many oops are there, and that is to say, the bugs have always mutated and the pill or the antibiotic or the drug has become ineffective. So next generation antibiotic is given. When that becomes ineffective, still next comes into existence, and finally we are back to the square one. That is, in 2000 AD, it seems that the bugs have won, so we go back again to eat the root. So this is basically a doggerel by some anonymous scientist which relates the history of medicine. Now, when we are talking about the drugs, this introduction of what is drug, what is antibiotic, and the discussion further will be discussed or will be narrated to you by Kiran ma'am. Ma'am, please.
Thank you, sir. Now actually I'm so happy to talk about this topic, because as sir exactly told you that drug resistance is a very burning problem. So before we go into the details of this kind of discussion, I would like to say that we should know what is a basic definition of a drug, or whatever things can be classified as drug. So drug is actually any chemical compound which can be used in the treatment, in the prevention of disease, in the treatment of disease, will be called as a drug. Drug is a very generalized term actually. It may include many chemical compounds, or it may also include different types of antibiotics, that is antimicrobial agents. Now the word antibiotic has come, so naturally I would like to say that what is antibiotic? Antibiotic is basically a substance that has been produced by the natural metabolic processes of microorganism, and their very important property is that they can either inhibit or destroy the other microorganisms at very high dilutions. So this is how the drug means any chemical or any antibiotic which can be used in the treatment of disease or in the prophylaxis of disease. Now coming to the next aspect, that as we understand that there are thousands and thousands of different kinds of antimicrobial drugs, but which one should be used for the treatment of diseases? So naturally we should have any such antimicrobial drug which can be considered as an ideal antimicrobial drug. But which drug will be considered as an antimicrobial drug? So we have set several criteria on the basis of which we can be able to select a proper drug. One criteria is that number one, that they should have a selective toxicity towards the microorganism, but at the same time they should not cause any injury, or they should be non-toxic to the host cell. This is a very important criteria when we talk about any ideal antimicrobial drug. Secondly, they should be microbicidal in nature rather than the microbiostatic. The reason is that if they are microbiostatic, they will provide some time for the pathogen to grow and multiply. So again the infection may occur. Hence it is very important that the antibiotics or the antimicrobial drugs, they should be microbicidal. The third important thing is that they should remain active for longer periods of time inside the host. During this time they should not be broken down, or they should not be excreted out prematurely. The reason is that if they do not remain for longer period of time in the host, then naturally the pathogens will not be destroyed. Hence they should remain active for longer periods of time. And next is they should not lead to the development of antimicrobial resistance. Apart from this, the other properties include that they should help the activities of the host defenses. I mean, they should be able to boost up the host immune system. And again, they should remain active in the tissues and body fluids. Next, they should be readily delivered at the site of action, and they should be reasonably priced. They should not be very costly, otherwise it will be a difficult problem, and they should not disturb the host health by causing some allergy or by some other predisposing things to the host. Now again, this is the point where I take this opportunity to remember those great scientists who had worked very hard, and they have opened up an absolutely new horizon in the field of medicine. Here is the picture of Paul Ehrlich. You can see that it is already written as Ehrlich's magic bullets. So he has discovered one chemical compound which was arsenical, and it was named as salvarsan. This chemical compound was also named as magic bullet 606, and this compound was actually used for the treatment of syphilis. So this is how the beginning of using the chemical compound in the treatment of disease has occurred. Another great scientist was Gerhard Domark. He discovered the prontosil. This was a sulfonamide, and it was first synthesized by Bayer chemists. They won Nobel Prize in 1939. Now, how can you forget about Alexander Fleming? By accident, he discovered the antibiotic penicillin, and when the penicillin was discovered, now till today we are able to see a large number of different kinds of antibiotics which are very helpful in the treatment of diseases. And here is Salman Waxman. He discovered the streptomycin. So these are the great discoveries of great scientists, with the help of which today we are standing on a position to treat very dangerous types of diseases by using this kind of chemical compounds, or by using drugs, or you can say by using antibiotics. Now, it was the time between 1962 and 2000 that no major classes of antibiotics were introduced. It was a very long gap. Whatever the antibiotics which were discovered before this time period, they were just modified, and they were used and reused by some modifications. Okay, after discussing all those points, the question that always arises is that how the pathogens are being inhibited by this kind of drugs, antimicrobial drugs, how they work, where they work, and what is the site where actually they show their effect. So this is sir will show you this diagram picture where you will be able to see a cell, microbial cell, and in this microbial cell you can see the different sites like cell wall, cell membrane, protein, DNA, RNA, ribosomes. So these are all different components of a cell which are shown in this picture, where you can also see that antibiotics are affecting either cell wall or the synthesis of cell wall. They are disrupting the cell membrane, that is the permeability of cell membrane is affected. They can inhibit the protein synthesis. They can also affect the DNA, RNA synthesis, or rather you can say they are also able to inhibit the RNA polymerase. At the same time, the process of transcription can also be affected by these antimicrobials. Okay. Once we have seen that these are the different sites in a microbial cell which can be affected or damaged by the antibiotics, now the thing is that, do all antibiotics are effective on all types of organisms, or the antibiotics are found to be effective only on some group of organisms? So here is the spectrum of activity, where we classify the spectrum as a broad spectrum antibiotic or as a narrow spectrum antibiotic. Broad spectrum antibiotic means those antibiotics which are found to be effective against both gram-positive as well as gram-negative bacteria, whereas the narrow spectrum antibiotics are effective against only specific families of bacteria. This you can see from the picture very well. Okay. So far we had seen what is a drug, what is an antibiotic, its mode of action. Now, whenever the patients who are treated with the antibiotics, do you think that it is so simple that the antibiotic will go inside the host and it will immediately show its effect and the person will get rid of the infection? No, it is not a simple matter. Actually, the antimicrobial therapy is very complex. This complexity you can see from this picture, that though same antibiotic may be given to the two different individuals, but the outcome of that treatment would be, or that antibiotic would be different. Why it is different? Because in one person it is possible that is the route of entry of antibiotic may be oral. In another person the route of entry may be intramuscular or may be intravenous. Apart from this, there are many other factors which are affecting the persistence of antibiotic inside the host. In some cases the antibiotic remains for longer periods of time, whereas in some cases it is being excreted out so fast, and the immunity of the host is again one of the problems where the antibiotic has to combat with that. And one more thing, when antibiotics are being given to individuals, as I have told you, the outcome is different. Reason is that the number of pathogens present in the host can be very high, and it is very much possible that some of them could be resistant to that particular antibiotic. So these are the different kinds of factors which makes the antimicrobial therapy a complex process. It is not a simple process. Now the remaining discussion about the drug resistance will be carried out by Dr. Rakesh Patel.
Thank you, Kiran ma'am. So far we have discussed about the introduction of a drug or antibiotic. Basically, I would like to put here that a drug or antibiotic, when we speak in general, these words are interchangeably used, but to be literally in science, both have individual meanings. That we have already seen. We have also seen the invention of various antibiotics over a period of last century, since the first drug was discovered, that was in 1920s. It is almost 100 years that these drugs have been in use, and because they have been in use over a period of last 100 years, the microorganisms have also evolved themselves in such a way that they have become resistant. Those drugs which have been used since long, these drugs, they do not have use anymore. Why? What is the reason? The reason is simple, that they are no more effective. Now, why they are no more effective? Because organisms have developed a resistance towards it. So, point is, what is basically a drug resistance? Now, when we say a drug resistance, it has got several meanings. Depending upon the topic concerned or depending upon the particular subject, people define them in a different way. So, I would give you three important definitions or three important explanations whereby we call the organism as a drug resistant if that organism has or that organism has lost the sensitivity towards that particular antibiotic against whom previously or earlier that organism was sensitive. That means it is a relative or a complete lack of effect of antimicrobial against a previously susceptible microbes. It means organism which was susceptible earlier, nowadays it is resistant. So that is a drug resistance. Second one is increase in MIC. MIC is minimum inhibitory concentration. Say for example, drug X or antibiotic X, the minimum inhibitory concentration earlier was say around 100 micrograms, but now that has increased almost to 3 folds or 5 folds. It means the MIC value has increased from 100 to say 500 or 300 or 400 or even more. If we use the antibiotic in more concentration, then the effect is observed. But earlier, which was just by using 100 micrograms, the inhibition was observed. That is not the case now. So increase in MIC can also be considered as a drug resistance shown by the organism. And the third explanatory sentence or a third explanatory note is the ability of the organism to survive and reproduce in presence of antibiotic doses that were previously effective against them. It means the organism earlier was not able to survive, either it was killed or it was not able to reproduce. If it is not killed, it was not able to reproduce by the doses which were given earlier. But the same dose at present, the organism is still alive and it can also reproduce. So in that case, we will consider that organism as showing drug resistance towards a particular antibiotic. Now, what are the consequences of drug resistance? When we have seen the organism becomes resistant, it is not showing any sensitivity towards a particular drug, then what does it lead to? What are the outcome of these drug resistance? So consequences includes, first, a very common one that we have already discussed, organisms fail to respond to the treatment. The organism is not able to show any inhibition, and therefore the doctor who is prescribing us a medicine or a drug or an antibiotic, he is helpless. The treatment is null and void. The patient does not improve. The second point is it leads to the longer periods of infectivity. Since the patient does not improve, he is infected for a longer duration of time. And the third one, since he is infected for a longer period of time and that person is moving in a society or in a family or in a population, there is a fear of shedding the organisms, and these organisms will infect other people, and therefore there is exposing the general population to the risk of contracting infections. Fourth, naturally, when a person is not improving even after taking medicines and the clinician keeps on changing the medicines, then there is an increased cost of replacing the drugs. And the fifth problem is, in few cases, some disease will not have any effective therapies in a long run. That is, in coming future, the organism may not respond to any drug of any kind. So these are some of the consequences of drug resistance. Sorry. Now let us come to a point where we would peep into detail regarding the mechanisms of antibiotic resistance. Okay, let us say that organism is resistant, but how that organism has acquired a resistance? What are the reasons? The reasons are basically divided into 5 different categories. The first one is the enzymatic destruction of the drug. These organisms, they produce certain compounds like enzymes or some extracellular secretions which will destroy the antibiotic structure. As a result, that antibiotic is not effective to the cells. For example, the beta-lactamase enzyme which inactivates penicillin. Second important mechanism is the drug itself does not enter the cell. Previously, the drug was permeable. That means it was able to pass through the membrane into the cell and reach to the cytoplasm of the cell. But now, because of the alteration in the membrane structure, the membrane has become impermeable. Indirectly, you can say the organism has denied access to the antibiotic or to the drug. Example is imipenem, where it has become impermeable. Cell has become impermeable to this antibiotic. Third one is rapid injection of the drug. That is, we call it as a efflux pump. In this case, the antibiotic is able to penetrate the cell, but it does not reside into the cytoplasm of the cell for a longer duration. Therefore, what happens is the pathogen pumps that antibiotic at a faster rate rather than the rate of the penetration. As a result, the cell will not have any antibiotic or will have a concentration of the antibiotic which is well below its MIC. So this is known as a efflux pump. The fourth mechanism is alteration of drug target site. The target site means the exact place where the drug would join a particular molecule and will make that function non-functional. That is known as a target site. So in some cases, what happens is the target site is altered. There is some change, and therefore these antibiotics cannot bind to those target sites. And since it cannot bind, then it is not able to show any effect. It is not able to exert any kind of effect. And the last, a very important one, production of alternative target sites. In some cases, the target site is not altered. The old target site remains as it is. But instead, when the antibiotics blocks the old target site, the organism has devised some means to bypass that particular step, and it has been able to produce an alternative enzyme or alternative path to continue its living, to continue its metabolic functions. For example, alternative penicillin binding proteins PBP2A in methicillin resistant Staphylococcus aureus MRSA strains. So these are 5 different mechanisms, 5 different ways by which the organism shows the antibiotic resistance. This is well shown in the diagram. There are 5 different ways. First one is the decreased uptake, that is the poor penetration. Second one, efflux pump. Third one, enzymatic inactivation. Fourth one, bypass of the pathways. And fifth one, altered target site. Now, how does the organism acquires this resistance? That is to say, we have already discussed the mechanism, but how these organisms they acquire or they achieve these kinds of resistance. Then we can divide this into 2 categories. One is natural resistance. Natural resistance is also known as intrinsic resistance. Natural means on its own. There are certain organisms which are right from the beginning, they show resistance towards the antibiotic. For example, Streptomyces, it's an kind of actinomycetes which has got some genes which are responsible for resistance of its own antibiotic. And it is natural when an organism is producing a particular antibiotic, it will have to show resistance towards its own production, otherwise it will be inhibited. Similarly, vancomycin is also resistant towards E. coli. Then in some cases there is a lack of transport system or a lack of target, because certain organisms will not have that particular target, and when they lack that particular target, antibiotic is useless. Similarly, they do not have proteins which brings the or which transports the antibiotic inside the cell. And third one, due to increased efflux activity, that is pumping out of antibiotic, because of either one or the combination of more than one reasons, as we have discussed earlier, the organisms acquire natural or intrinsic resistance. The next one is acquired resistance. As the name indicates, the organism right from beginning it was not naturally showing any resistance. It was sensitive. That is, the wild type varieties were sensitive. But it has acquired, it has obtained it from some other external means. Usually it is again a microorganism itself. It has acquired this resistance from its friend or from other organism which is of a similar species or of a different species. And this can be due to either mutations in the chromosomal genes or due to acquisition of mobile genetic elements. These mobile genetic elements are either plasmids or transposons. So either mutations or due to the acquisition of plasmids from the other cell or due to the acquisition of transposons from the other cells, these organisms, they acquire resistance. That is known as the acquired resistance. Now, as shown in this diagram, how these organisms, they transfer the drug resistance plasmid or the genes responsible for drug resistance from one organism to the other. There are three processes which all of you know them, by which the genes from one cell can be transferred to the others. That includes transformation, conjugation and transduction. So by this process, a gene from one organism can be introduced into the another organism. This is known as a horizontal transfer, as different from the vertical transfer where the genes are passed on from parent to the offsprings. Horizontal transfer means transfer of genes from one organism to the other. They may be of the same species or can be of a varied species. And as we have discussed earlier, it can be transformation, conjugation or transduction. Conjugation plays a very important role because it is the exchange of plasmids. And these plasmids, we call them as a drug resistance plasmid, R plasmids. These plasmids, they also have a multiple resistance genes which confer the multiple resistance to the organism in which they are incorporated, and this can be transferred very effectively. Then there is another way by which the organisms achieves the resistance, that is also known as a cross resistance. Cross resistance is basically a resistance to one antibiotic which automatically confers resistance to the others. This is probably due to the fact that the second antibiotic also has the same kinds of mechanism or same kinds of drug resistance. For example, resistance to cephalosporin gives resistance to methicillin even in a bacteria which has never been exposed to methicillin. So that is known as a cross resistance. Then another type of resistance is phenotypic drug resistance. Phenotypic drug resistance means the genotype of the organisms is still sensitive, but the organisms are not inhibited by the antibiotic. This is due to the fact that in certain cases the antibiotics are only effective when the organisms are in a particular stage of the growth. For example, when the organisms are growing, penicillin will act on them only. But if they are at a resting stage or in a later stage of their life cycle, late logarithmic phase, then these antibiotics prove to be useless. So organisms are unsusceptible to such antibiotics. However, when these organisms are transferred to fresh media, that is when they are transferred to another cultures, they grow again and they are still sensitive. But this is called, what we call it as a phenotypic drug resistance. In phenotypic drug resistance, another important factor which needs a discussion is the presence of biofilms. Now, what are biofilms? These are basically the hydrated matrix of polysaccharides or proteins which leads to the formation of a slime layer and these slime wares are formed on some implanted medical devices or on some damaged tissues. For example, in catheters during UTI infections, urinary tract infections, or the formation of dental plaques, then coating of contact lenses, certain endocarditis, that is when the valves and other things are introduced into the hearts, cystic fibrosis, then joint heart valves, and the cutaneous, that is the skin wounds. In these cases, on these such kinds of external devices, medical devices or the implants, these organisms, they form, they grow, they secrete polysaccharides and protein, they form a slime layer, and the organisms remains hidden towards this. As a result, the drug is not able to reach that particular organism. Organisms like Staphylococcus aureus, Staphylococcus epidermidis, Pseudomonas, and E. coli, Klebsiella, Mycobacteria, these are the prominent one which shows these kinds of phenotypic drug resistance in biofilms. Next comes multi-drug resistance. Multi-drug resistance means what? Some organisms, they exhibit resistance towards more than one antibiotics. That means the routinely used antibiotics, most of them, they do not have any effect. Such organisms are called as superbugs. Superbugs in a sense that they have got a immense ability to resist almost all kinds of drugs. The example is very prominent. For example, recently mentioned, you must have read it in many newspapers over a year back, a superbug called New Delhi metallobeta-lactamase 1, NDM1. This organism was first of all reported in Sweden from a person who was originating from India, that is New Delhi, and that is by the name New Delhi metallobeta-lactamase. Basically, carbapenems is the drug of choice for the treatment of infections which are resistant to ordinary antibiotics. That is, when the infection does not respond to a routine antibiotics, a person is given carbapenem antibiotics. But this organism produced the enzyme carbapenase. As a result, this organism was resistant to the antibiotic which was given to the patients which showed resistance to other antibiotics. It means it is a kind of a superbug. This was first discovered in Klebsiella pneumoniae and E. coli in 2008. Later on, the same kind of superbug, NDM1, has been reported in other countries, that includes Pakistan and certain other Asian countries. Now, let us come to the evolution of resistance to antibiotic. As you can see them in the figure, the sulfonamides were deployed, or they were discovered in 1930s, and within 10 years the first resistance was observed. Penicillin, for that matter, was discovered in 1943, and by 1946, within 3 years the resistance was observed. So you can see here in the table that within a very short time the organism evolved the mechanism for resistance. Therefore, as we can see this in the graphical representations, the landscape is changing for the numbers of approved antibacterial agents. During 83 to 87, on the left hand bar shows the highest number of agents which were approved. But as 2003-5 comes and as 2008 comes, there were no antibacterial agents which were approved because it showed the drug resistance. So as you can see here, the red line shows the increase in resistance. The number of approved drug, as you can see them in bar, it is showing a decrease in resistance. So the landscape is changing, that you can say. Now what leads to this evolution of resistance? Basically, the antibiotic use, it exerts a very strong selective pressure. That is to say, whenever an antibiotic is used, among a huge population of a pathogen, the susceptible organisms will be killed. The resistant individuals, resistant pathogens will continue to live. And these organisms will now try to grow even when the antibiotic is present. And within a short time, as you know that bacteria divides almost every 20 minutes, within few hours or within few days, these resistant population will be profusely spreading in the body. So in an environment where you use a large number of antibiotic, these resistant alleles, that is the genes, they spread very rapidly. And this problem is compounded by the horizontal gene transfer, as we have already seen, either by plasmids or by transposones, or by conjugation, transformation and transduction, or even by cross-reduction. As you can see them in diagrams, the point which I explained to you, the red color bacteria, bug, in the center is only one. But the green colored, which were considered to be of the same type, they were sensitive. So whenever antibiotic was present, these green color bacteria were destroyed. Only red color survived. And in doing so, after some time, after 2 generations, from 1 it became 4. Then these organisms continued to thrive in that environment, and they continue to grow even when the antibiotic was absent. So when the antibiotic was absent, these organisms continue to perpetuate, and as a result, you can see that in a huge population, only few organisms were antibiotic sensitive, while others were mostly antibiotic resistant. This is a phenomenon which is known as the antibiotic exerts a strong selective pressure. As you can see this in graph, the number of organisms, initial antibiotic organisms, here they were very high, but as the antibiotic is used, the number decreases slowly. But if you can consider it here, the red line, it shows the antibiotic resistant population which was less in the initial stages. Slowly and slowly it increased after several generations, and it reached the climax. It is almost number is as large as the original population of sensitive organisms. So this indicates that how the antibiotic resistant organisms spread in the community or in the culture. Now what are the causes of drug resistance? This will be explained to you by Madam. The causes of drug resistance.
Okay, thank you, sir. Now actually a lot of things are being discussed to you people, and you must have realized that how dangerous it is when the resistance towards the antibiotic develops in pathogens. Now again we would like to see that what are the real actual causes which leads to the development of drug resistance. This is a very important aspect to understand, that nowadays every 1 or 2 or 3 individual you ask them, they say that they are using this kind of antibiotic. So wide use or overuse of antibiotics, or misuse, we can say misuse of antibiotic, is always there, leading to the drug resistance. Not only this, but the use of the antibiotics in cattle, in farming, has also led to the development of resistant varieties of pathogens. Apart from this, it has been again observed and surveyed that many people who travel a lot from one country to another, one state to another, if they are infected with some kind of pathogen, which carries a resistant gene, then this kind of people, when they travel to some other country, they carries the pathogen with a resistant gene and they transfer this kind of pathogen to some other individual. So this is how, because of increased globalization, the resistance has increased. Not only this, but the settings in the hospital has also given rise to the development of the bacteria who are found to be resistant to antibiotic. So this is how the antibiotics are either used excessively, or we can say it is the misuse of antibiotic for the treatment of infection or for the treatment of diseases.
Well, if you can see here that during 1940s and 50s, the antibiotics which were used, which were discovered in the initial stages, were very extremely effective. But as the time went on, these antibiotics, they lost their charm. That is to say, the organisms slowly and slowly developed resistance. This was because of several things. One of the important factor was antibiotics were also used in agriculture, or they were used for dosing the cattle with antibiotics to increase the beef, to increase the yield. All these factors led to the antibiotic resistance, because by 1970s the world was full with, or it was awash with antibiotics, because large tons of antibiotics were produced and they were released into environment. For example, according to one estimate, 90 to 180 million kg per year of antibiotics is released into the environments, into the world, which is enough for 25 billion full treatment courses. On an average, it comes to 4 courses per human being per year. This is probably 10 times more antibiotics are used in agriculture to treat people. That is, the antibiotics are more used for treatment of plants and disease, to control the disease. And Levy in 1997 estimated that for animal treatments or as an animal supplements, 30 times more antibiotics are being used as compared to human beings. Now, these effects of antibiotic misuse are 2. The first one, that apart from treating the invading infectious pathogens, these antibiotics also eliminate the normal flora present in the host. And as a result of this leads to the disturbance of the diversity of the ecosystem and the natural balance between the susceptible and resistant organisms is lost. Then comes the self-medication. Basically, this is one of the greatest evil which the society faces. If a person gets sick, then he does not visit the clinicians. He thinks that by taking the drugs which are sold over the counter, or by using the common drugs which somebody else has been using it, if I take 1 or 2 doses, I'll be okay, I'll be fine. So this is called as a self-medication, and as a result of this, without diagnosis, the drugs are being taken, which leads to the drug resistance. Apart from this, the suboptimal levels of antimicrobials. What is suboptimal levels of the antimicrobials? It means that right dose at right time is not being taken, as a result of which the MIC level is not maintained in the human body. So that leads to suboptimal levels of antimicrobial. As a result, the microbes which carry the resistance genes, they multiply. And for a layman, we can say what he should do. He should reduce the inappropriate prescription of antibiotics. We should increase the public awareness so that the diseases cannot be cured, that all diseases you cannot cure it with antibiotics. Then you should also reduce the use of antibiotics in agriculture as well as in animal feeds, and to increase the number of patients and insist them that they finish their course of antibiotics. Apart from that, we should also minimize the use of new antibiotics, and whenever possible, the vaccination and the fast treatment or prophylaxis should be increased. Now, what are the key antimicrobial resistance factors which prevents the development of new antimicrobial resistance? As you can see here, that whenever a susceptible pathogen is there, whenever infection takes place, and when we start using the antimicrobials, then all these things or antibiotic resistance can be prevented by preventing infections, effective diagnosis and effective treatment, optimal use of antimicrobials, and finally to prevent the transmission of these pathogens from one individual to the another. Now, last thing, that is the managing of drug resistance problems, will be discussed by Madam.
Okay, now you have learned so many things about the drug resistance. Now the question arises, do we have any solution to manage this kind of drug resistance? Do we have any thing with the help of which we can limit the spread of this kind of drug resistance? To some extent, we can definitely restrict the spread of drug resistance. How it can be done? It can be done with the help of better treatment strategies, better immunization programs, improved hygiene and nutrition. Even by establishing the antibiotic resistance surveillance programs, we can definitely manage the drug resistance problems. We can aware the public by giving the education. Even the healthcare professionals can be educated for this kind of management, so that the drug resistance can be minimized and the people live a better life. Okay, apart from this, we can always use the antibiotics, as rightly said, that the use of antibiotics at right time for right period is very necessary to prevent the drug resistance. Then the combination of antibiotics can be used to prevent the drug resistance. Mobilization of host defense mechanism, I mean the boosting of the immunity, can also be helpful. And lastly, the use of normal bacterial flora can also be helpful in managing the drug resistance. Now, lastly, I end up this discussion by leaving one question. You can think about it. Are we using the right drug for the right bug? Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, friends. In the end, I would like to acknowledge the Commissioner, Department of Higher Education, Government of Gujarat, for starting such a live interactive program. Also Professor Sarvaiya for his extraordinary efforts in running the Sandhan, and the officials as well as technical staff of Bisect Studio for their excellent telecast and recordings. I also take this opportunity to thank my friends and colleagues for their overwhelming support. So friends, now you are very well aware about this means of drug resistance, the problems of drug resistance, and the advice to you as a microbiologist is, if you are sick, do not waste time, consult the clinicians, visit the laboratory, do a proper diagnosis and take a proper drug for the right period of time and at the right time. Complete the course of these drugs so that the organism is killed and you live a happy life. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Sandhan. All Gujarat Integrated Classroom.
સેટેલાઇટના માધ્યમથી જોડતી કડી એટલે સંધાન.